Hi guys, it's Nick with the Whip Shop, and on today's episode I'm going to teach you how to plait this pattern. This is a fun little pattern you can do if you want to add some extra variation to your plaiting. It's two colors split down the middle with the exception of one oddball strand, which sort of equalizes the pattern and distributes the color down the thong of the whip. The way I set this pattern up is I'll take every strand needed, and instead of measuring out a solid colored strand, I'll simply take half the length of the strand. So, for example, the longest strands in the overlay are 24 feet. I'll cut out 12 feet of burgundy and another 12 feet of hunter green and fuse those together and refer to that as one solid strand. I'll do this with every single strand of the whip. Now, the reason that we're using one of the longest strands, you'll have two of them, the reason that we're using the longest strand to be the oddball strand is so that you never accidentally drop that strand. The two longest strands of the overlay carry out to the fall hitch, so it's protected from ever being dropped, and that way you're going to carry out this pattern all the way to the end of your whip. So let's go down to the shop and get started on this thing. Hope you learned something. Now I'm getting ready to attach the strands to the handle. First of all, I have all of my 8 strands here. There's 4 of them here and there's another 4 here. Make sure first that you isolate one of the 24-foot strands. You'll have 2 of them, but set one aside. If you have one set aside, it doesn't matter what strands I have in my hand. Okay? So I have 4 of the strands here. Just how we always do it. Right side wraps around the front of the left side, just like that. Just like we always do it. Neaten this up a little bit. And there we go. I'm going to take those remaining strands. Also, as you can see, burgundy on one side, hunter green on the other side, split right down the center. These, we're going to do something a little bit different. And don't forget, here's the 24-foot strand. Be conscious of which one is the 24-foot strand. Burgundy on one side for 3 strands, but on the last 24-foot strand, we're going to do it just like this. Hunter green on the top left, burgundy on the top right. It's the oddball strand. So now, we're going to find the ends of these strands. We can let this go because we know where the middles are. So there we go, there's our second strand, our third strand, and finally our 4th strand. And now we're going to put this through. We want to have the hunter green strand on top. If it gets a little unorganized while you're sliding them through, don't worry about that. Open up our eye, slide the ends of these strands through. Close her up. Just like this. Now you can start reorganizing things a little bit. We want that top left strand to be hunter green. Pull that up. Now that we have those, we can go ahead and pull them through. The melted part will indicate the middle of the strand, and that's how we know where to stop. There's the middle. There's the middle. Middle. One more strand. There's the middle. Now, if I was done with the handle, I would just go straight into the herringbone. But since this is a custom order, I have to do a diamond plait on the handle. Just going to work through this a little bit here. Under, over, under, over. If you're choosing to plait a handle with this pattern, you're trying to preserve the sequence so you'll be all ready when you go into the herringbone. One of the good indicators is to look at this every now and then and just kind of recognize that you are right where you started as far as the pattern goes. Burgundy on the left, with that exception of the one strand on the top left and the inverse on the other side. All green, burgundy on the top. As long as you're seeing this pattern after every round of plating, it's where you're plating through, back to square one, plating through, back to square one. If it's looking like this, everything's okay, keep on going. Okay, so we've finished our diamond handle, and now we're ready to transition into the herringbone pattern. Let me give you a close-up of what this looks like. Once you're done, if you're going to do the diamond plait on the handle, you should end up with the same exact pattern that we started with when we attached all the strands. What I mean by that is we are back to having burgundy on the left, all burgundy except for the top left is hunter green, and the inverse on the right side. So we are ready to dive straight into the herringbone pattern. We're transitioning from this diamond plait. These strands point to the upper right. Grab our single burgundy strand, around the back, under 4, over 4. Plait loose and pull tight. Upper left strand is our hunter green, around the back. Under 4, over 4. That's all it is right now, guys. Under 4, over 4. There's our other hunter green. Under 4, over 4. That's all it is. Under 4, over 4. As long as we have 16 strands, that's what we're doing. And you are going to start seeing that pattern come to life. See that? So keep on plating under 4, over 4. Okay, so I just finished the third pass of this overlay, and what I mean by passes is I've plaited 16 strands, and you can see this particular pattern makes an individual pass very evident here. 1 pass, 2 pass, 3 passes. So you can really see that pattern taking shape. If you look at the side, looks good. Make sure you check your strands, make sure that there's no spaces. If there's spaces, no big deal. Unravel and replate, however you say it. Okay, we've come to the point where it's time to drop strands. Now the key to dropping strands, so that you don't interrupt your pattern, is to drop 2 strands at one time. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to obviously drop the shortest strand, the shortest piece here. The left side of it and the right side is over here, right there. So we're going to drop these 2 strands together, these 2 ends of one strand together. The first thing that I like to do is wait until it's set up in this pattern here. It's where my left strand is 1 from the bottom, the right strand is 4 from the top. Okay, so I'm going to drop this strand first. I'm going to do so by pulling everything nice and tight like this. And now on the left side. Better. Alright, so I'm taking this strand here, giving it one last pull, and then just tucking it under here. And don't pull this tight or else this strand will slip underneath the rest. Just pull it to the middle and let it be. Now, upper left. Sorry about that, I got ahead of myself. Dropping 2 strands at the same time, so find the other strand, this one, underneath all of these. Once again, giving it one last pull, and then right next to the other one that we just dropped. And these 2 strands are just going to sit down here side by side, like this. Just like that. And now, on both sides, we are going under 4/3. Under 4/3. Now the 2 strands here, they're going to be wanting to kind of spread out until you have some tension on them. And the way we're going to get the tension is to just keep on plaiting over them. Under 4/3. We're in 14 Plait right now. Briefly. Pay attention to the undersides here, just to make sure. I'm going to take a look real quick. Make sure there's no spaces. If there are little tiny spaces, don't worry about it because when you roll the whip, it'll be taken care of. Looking good. I used to be really uncomfortable with the idea of dropping 2 strands at once, because I thought that there was going to be a big drop off in the overlay, a big noticeable drop off. Now if I were to cut these 2 strands here, there would be, but I'm going to stagger them in length. I'm going to cut them at different lengths and angle my cuts so that there's no noticeable drop off there. Sorry, it's kind of an odd camera angle. I just need to make sure that we're looking good. We are. Under 4/3. That's something really important. I had a few people asking me to do a tutorial on how to preserve a pattern, meaning that if I want to preserve a pattern and I'm dropping strands, how do I keep it the same all the way down? This is how you do it, dropping 2 strands at the same time. So we're getting ready to cut these 2 dropped strands. There's no reason to just carry them on that long. It'll interrupt our taper. It'll interfere with it. So what I'm going to do is just kind of give everything one last tug here before we cut. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4. Oops. Now here's something to note. I'm pulling these strands. Why is that one strand not tightening? And this is something that you have to remember. This is a dropped strand. It's down here, not on the side. So pay close attention to this strand. We're going to take this dropped strand and we're just going to pull it straight down, okay? Don't overdo it, because if you pull it too hard, it's going to slip underneath the strand below it. So just grasp it like this and give it a straight down pull. And then, right after that, we want to pull the strand directly underneath it. And that's how we tighten that dropped strand. There's a bit of a curve on there. I didn't do the finest job on that, unfortunately. But I think when I roll the whip, it'll take care of itself. Now for every red strand here, for the red strand there's a corresponding green strand. So that green strand is kind of laying down pretty well actually. So we're going to pull it. It's right here. See that? Just moving ever so slightly. And that's all it needs. So when I cut these strands, these two strands together, I'm going to wrap my finger around here. I'm going to get a pair of snippers here. Can use scissors for this obviously as well. I'm going to cut right here at an angle. And then I'm going to cut about a ½ inch below at an angle. Like that. Now I'm going to take a lighter, and this is something I do that's new. I'll take the lighter and I'll actually just melt the end here. And then I'll just press it into the belly like that. I'll do the same thing for the other strand. Make sure that it's not on fire when you press it into the belly underneath, because if it's on fire, if it's still burning, if the strand is burning, it'll melt your artificial sinew and you'll lose a lot of tension on your belly. So that's it. Notice how we haven't lost our pattern. I'll hurry up and just do this real quick. Under 4/3. Checking for spaces. I'm just doing this for the sake of showing that the pattern has not been interrupted. So I'm getting ready to drop 2 more strands here and repeat exactly what I did up here. But before I do that, I want to just point out that we have not lost the consistency of our pattern. You see that? And the reason that how we achieve this, the way we achieve this, is by dropping 2 strands every time. That's very important. I'm about to do it again. I'm not going to film this drop here. I'm just going to repeat what I did earlier. Well, that wraps it up for today's episode. I hope you guys learned something new and enjoyed plating a new pattern. As always, if you have any recommendations for more tutorials, please drop a comment. See you guys in the next one.